The year is 1560. Deep in the Carpathian Mountains, a child is born beneath thunder. Her name Elizabeth Báthory. Blood pools at her birth, not from complication but from lineage. She is not simply noble, she is the descendant of both the Habsburgs and one of Hungary's most ancient houses. Her family crest bears dragons and swords, but behind every gilded symbol lies a lineage riddled with rot. Her uncle, a warlord and torturer, delights in the sight of men flayed alive. Her brother is restrained nightly to prevent self-harm. Her aunt, a suspected witch, whispers to the moon. Madness is not a stranger in the Báthory bloodline, it is tradition. Even as a child, Elizabeth learns two things: power is absolute and cruelty is inherited. At just 5 years old, she is marched through fields to witness a rebel being sewn inside the carcass of a dying horse, a punishment designed to humiliate and suffocate. The lesson is not lost on her. Blood is justice, pain is memory, and the nobility decide both. Elizabeth grows into a striking young woman, raven-haired, calculating, poised. Tutors are summoned from Vienna. She speaks 4 languages before she bleeds. Her letters are elegant, her gaze unsettling. At age 11, she is promised to Ferenc Nadasti, a brutal soldier known as the Black Knight. He is famed for impaling Ottoman prisoners and sending their severed noses to the king as trophies. It is not a love match. It is consolidation, a unification of bloodlines, land, and influence. Their wedding feast lasts 3 days. Her dowry includes an entire castle, Cachtice, but marriage is no rescue. Ferenc is often away at war, leaving Elizabeth as the de facto ruler of the domain. She is barely 16. In the vast stone halls of Cachtice, silence becomes her confidante. Her companions are servants, midwives, and physicians. She learns herbs, poisons, pressure points. The blade becomes an extension of her hand, first out of curiosity, then necessity. When peasants complain of high taxes, a few are made examples. A girl who steals bread is stripped, smeared with honey, and tied to an anthill. She dies screaming, but her screams do not echo. The castle absorbs them. Ferenc returns between campaigns, hardened and grinning. He teaches Elizabeth new methods, how to douse a prisoner's feet in salt and have goats lick it raw. She does not flinch, she learns. He gifts her gloves lined with claws, used to scratch open flesh slowly, ceremonially. Theirs is a courtship of cruelty. By the time she is 25, Elizabeth has already given birth to several children, some of whom die in infancy. There are whispers among the midwives that the Countess does not cry when they die, that she simply nods, dismisses them, and retreats to her baths. Grief, if it exists, hides behind ritual. In public, she is regal. She donates to churches, funds a hospital, and hosts plays. But behind castle walls, the transformation begins. Elizabeth watches her reflection more often. She notices wrinkles near her eyes. The glow of youth, she believes, is dimming, and she loathes it. In a court where beauty is power and decay is death, she cannot allow herself to fade, not when so many others already have. She begins to isolate herself from other nobles. Letters become sparse. She only receives select visitors, alchemists, physicians, mystics. She sends for ancient texts and secret remedies. Some claim she even writes to occult scholars in Prague, asking for elixirs and charms. But nothing slows the passage of time. The mirror shows no mercy. Then comes the moment that births legend. A servant girl spills a drop of wine on Elizabeth's gown. Enraged, the Countess strikes her. The girl's blood spatters onto Elizabeth's skin. According to the legend, apocryphal perhaps, but eternal, she notices something strange. Where the blood lands, her skin looks smoother, lighter, younger. A seed is planted. From then on, her attention sharpens. Young girls become not just servants but subjects. She demands virgins. Peasant girls from local villages are brought to the castle under the promise of work or etiquette training. Some return, most do not. The families complain, but who dares accuse a countess? At night she walks the halls with candles, humming lullabies from her childhood. Her hands are always cold, her gowns are always red. When asked about the missing girls, she smiles thinly and says, "Some flowers do not survive the frost." By 1590, the transformation is complete. Elizabeth Báthory is no longer a noblewoman. She is a scholar of suffering, a woman who believes that time itself can be bled, and with Ferenc gone more often than not, there is no one to stop her. The bloodline that bore her has passed its sickness like inheritance, and she has become its queen. The castle stands silent at dawn, mist curling around its towers like breath on glass. But inside, beneath the great stone floors and velvet-draped halls, a darker rhythm pulses. the hum of metal tools being washed, the drip of blood into silver bowls, the shuffle of footsteps leading girls downward who will never come back up. Elizabeth Báthory has turned her fortress into a machine, and every gear is made of bone. It begins slowly. A servant girl goes missing, a peasant child no older than 14. The official reports she fled, stealing a silver cup. Then another disappears. Eloped, they say. Stole bread. The castle steward files the paperwork. No one investigates. After all, what does one expect from poor village girls? They vanish all the time, especially in winters this cruel. But inside the walls there is no winter. Elizabeth has begun her experiments. It is not rage that fuels her. Not yet. It is curiosity. Every new girl is a possibility, a chance to test the limits of her theory. That youth, beauty, and vitality are transferable, not through medicine but through sacrifice. Blood is not merely a symbol, it is a reagent. Her first true ritual is primitive. A girl is bound, stripped, and bled into a basin as Elizabeth bathes. The act is both horrific and tender. She hums softly, strokes the girl's hair before the cut. She believes she's giving purpose, that these girls in death become part of something higher. But the crude beginnings soon evolve into protocol. She enlists help. Her old nurse, Alona Jo, now a cold-eyed assistant, Dorothea Sentes, a sadistic widow, and 2 local men, one a mute, the other a former torturer from the wars. Together they build an underground sanctuary of pain, a stone chamber, candlelit and sealed, where the walls are lined with tools, chains, and drains. The room is always cold. The screams never echo past the stone. Each victim is prepared with ceremony. They are bathed in rosewater, dressed in linen, perfumed. Then they are brought below, often blindfolded, told they are to be measured for courtly attire. Instead, they are stripped and suspended. Their blood is drained slowly, methodically, collected in silver bowls arranged in geometric precision around the chamber. Elizabeth records her reactions meticulously. How long the blood remains warm, how it congeals, how her skin looks in the mirror after a bath. She did not kill for pleasure, one later testimony would read. She killed like a scholar. She killed like a clock. Sometimes the experiments shift. Instead of blood, she tries fat rendered into salves, bone-ground powders, even marrow distilled into tinctures. Local apothecaries are bribed. Herbalists disappear. She instructs her servants to track lunar cycles, star alignments. Girls are chosen by astrological sign. She reads their palms before selecting them for death. The methods grow crueler, more refined. Heated pincers, iron combs, ice baths, starvation chambers. Some girls are made to stand for days without sleep or food, and when they collapse, they are punished further. Others are buried up to their necks, their faces carved to release impurities. These are not chaotic murders, they are patterns, controlled variables. Elizabeth is convinced that the younger the victim, the purer the result. But even this horror has a haunting elegance. The bloodlettings occur at twilight. Music plays above, soft harpsichord drifting down the staircase. Elizabeth sometimes dines as it happens. Fruit, cheese, wine. Her goblet glows red. Her guests, if any, are carefully chosen. Most are blind to the truth. Some are not. Outside the castle, villagers begin to whisper. A girl is seen entering the castle gates in spring and never again. Another is spotted, pale and limping, dumped at the edge of the forest. Her tongue is missing, her eyes sewn shut. The local priest asks questions until he receives a sudden donation from the Countess and a horse for his troubles. The region's noblemen are cautious. They've heard rumors, but Elizabeth is untouchable. She's related to kings. Her husband commands armies. Her signature appears on royal edicts. What's a few missing peasants compared to political stability? But Elizabeth is not satisfied. She watches her skin each morning, analyzing each line, each crease. She grows obsessed with mirrors, 6 in her bedroom, 3 more in the bath. She begins to compare different bloodlines. Are blondes better? Virgins? Can a drop of aristocratic blood replace 10 peasants? Her journal entries grow erratic, poetic, rambling, fevered. She is becoming something else, one servant writes. Not a woman, not a monster, something between. By 1604, her husband Ferenc is dead, and with him the last chain of restraint. Now she kills not for science, but for certainty. Her body begins to fail her, migraines, tremors, blackouts, and she believes more blood is the cure. Girls are slaughtered in pairs, in dozens. New servants are brought weekly. None last long, and still she is not satisfied. By 1609, Elizabeth Báthory, had drained so many village girls that local populations began to thin. Entire families left the region to protect their daughters. Priests stopped baptizing girls near Cachtice. Even the silence around her began to stretch. Too many missing, too many vague explanations, and still the Countess was not done. She had grown gaunt, beautiful in a haunted corpse-like way. Her eyes were rimmed in dark circles, her once glowing skin now pale, translucent. Yet her obsession with youth deepened. The blood of peasants, she claimed, had become weak. Their suffering no longer satisfied the rituals. Their deaths no longer slowed the mirror's betrayal. Her solution was simple: change the bloodline. She turned her attention to the daughters of the minor nobility, girls born to landowning families, raised with polish, education, and pride. Elizabeth believed noble blood held a more potent energy, more power, more youth, and so she invented a new strategy: seduction by prestige. The finishing school opened under the name the Academy of Noble Refinement. An elegant building adjacent to her castle was renovated, furnished with embroidered curtains, imported mirrors, silk bedding, and books in Latin and Greek. Invitations were sent to lesser noble houses across Hungary and Slovakia, hand-lettered on lambskin vellum, sealed in crimson wax with the Báthory crest. They promised courtly education for young ladies, including training in etiquette, music, languages, and dance. Above all, the chance to enter high society, possibly even the royal court. The offers were irresistible. For a minor noble with limited means, sending a daughter to the Báthory Academy was a golden ticket, and the Countess had long been a patroness of education and charity, her reputation, at least among those above the peasantry, still glittering. One by one they came, blonde, brunette, dark-eyed, or fair, dressed in velvet, with their mother's pearls and father's letters of introduction. They curtsied to the Countess, smiled nervously, and settled into their new home. They were fed well, treated with reverence, and taught by tutors who never looked them in the eye. Elizabeth visited their dormitories often, touching their faces, brushing their hair, watching how their veins pulsed at the neck. Then they began to vanish, quietly, one every few weeks. A girl develops a sudden illness, another is said to have returned home, another one married. The letters never reach their families. The excuses are plausible. At first, girls do disappear, plans do change, but noble families, unlike peasants, do not forget. In early 1610, a mother arrives at the academy gates unannounced. She demands to see her daughter. She is denied. She waits. She cries. She returns with a local knight. They too vanish. Behind the academy walls, the rituals continue. The noble girls are treated differently. Their blood is preserved more carefully, tested for color, heat, even scent. Elizabeth believes she can taste rank, that the higher the lineage, the sweeter the blood. The deaths are more violent now. Girls scream names of saints as they are bound to mirrored tables. Elizabeth paints her face in blood, stares at herself while the victims die. God made them beautiful, she is said to whisper. I make them eternal. Her accomplices keep journals, notes on the effectiveness of each method, quick incisions versus slow bleeding, temperature's effect on viscosity, the smell of death before and after herbs are burned. But the noble world is not blind. Letters begin to circulate. Questions reach the ears of King Matthias II. A priest escapes with a page from a servant's diary, reporting unspeakable acts against the children of Christ. Elizabeth, unaware, plans an expansion. She wants to open a second school in Vienna. She commissions a golden carriage, prepares a speech. She even writes to the Pope, a letter now lost, reportedly asking for divine blessing on her work with the daughters of Europe. But her body is failing. No amount of blood, no tincture, no oil-soaked ritual stops the rot. Her joints ache, her hands tremble, her hair begins to fall. The mirror shows only death. She drinks the blood now, undiluted, straight from silver goblets. Her servants are made to fan her as she gags it down. Her lips are always red, always cracked. By autumn, multiple noble families have sent letters to the king demanding answers. Their daughters have not returned. Their servants report horrors. One guard breaks and confesses to a priest, describing a room of hanging girls and silver bowls filled with steaming red. The king dispatches an investigation, a secret one. They watch the castle. They record deliveries, meat, wine, coffins. Elizabeth does not notice. She is consumed by her reflection. The final stages of her madness are marked not by screaming but by silence. She wanders the halls in blood-stained gowns. She whispers to portraits. Her hands are always cold. She believes the blood is working. December 29, 16. The snow around Cachtice Castle is thick, muffling hooves and footsteps. but no silence can smother what lies within its walls. George Thurzo, Palatine of Hungary, arrives with soldiers under orders from King Matthias II. He carries a sealed warrant, a crucifix, and warnings whispered from noble courts and broken servants. The townspeople watch from their windows. Some pray, others spit. All know something evil has nested on that mountain. The castle gates creak open. What the men find inside doesn't resemble a courtly residence. It is a mausoleum dressed as nobility. Blood on the stairs, a trail of dark stains leading to the lower halls. The smell, rot, iron, something cloying and perfumed to mask the rest. They descend into the castle's belly and enter the dungeons, and there the legends are made real. Chains still warm from struggling limbs, iron cages with dried blood beneath them, silver basins stacked like dishes, some half-filled, some already blackened, a body on a slab, throat slit, limbs bound, still fresh. 3 other girls are found alive but barely conscious, lying in straw, their arms punctured, their skin pale as wax. They tremble when light touches them. One whispers, she drinks before passing out. Elizabeth Báthory is found in her bedchamber. She is combing her hair. Her nightdress is white. She greets Thurzo with a curtsy. Her voice is calm, regal. These girls came to serve, she says, as if it's a line from scripture. They gave their youth to a cause greater than marriage or motherhood. They are honored, but the evidence is overwhelming. Journals detailing names, dates, methods, letters never sent, vials and goblets, labeled with the names of noble houses, rooms behind false walls, a closet of preserved organs suspended in wine. Her accomplices are taken into custody. Anna Darvulia, her closest confidante, Ilona Yo, the housekeeper, Dorotia Sentes, the so-called butcher woman, and a disfigured man known only as Fichko, a torturer with a child's mind and an executioner's hand. Interrogations begin at once. Under torture, the confessions pour out like opened veins. Yes, we helped her. Yes, the girls were noble. Yes, the blood was collected. Yes, she bathed in it. Yes, she drank it. Some say the number is 36. Others say 80. One servant, shaking and foaming at the mouth, says 650. Elizabeth's own journals, meticulous, blood-smeared, list hundreds of names. The king wants her executed, but her nobility shields her. She is a Báthory, cousin to royalty, richer than most duchies. Public execution would dishonor the crown. The scandal must be contained, so they build her a prison inside her own castle. In a room with no windows, no visitors, they brick her behind stone walls. 2 openings remain, one for food, the other for air. No torchlight is allowed, no mirror. She is not sentenced by law but by fear, a living entombment, a noble silence. For 3 years no one sees her. She speaks only to the handmaid who slides her meals through the stone. That girl later says, she spoke as if to mirrors. She said her skin was glowing again, but it wasn't. Her body deteriorated. Her hair fell out, her fingernails blackened, her breath turned sour, and her voice cracked like old parchment. In August 1614, the maid returns to find the food untouched. She calls out. No answer. She peers through the slot. The countess lies on the floor, face turned from view, arms twisted, mouth slightly open. She is not bleeding. There is no final horror, only emptiness. She died as she lived, hidden. There is no funeral, no public decree. Her accomplices, those not executed, disappear into labor camps and orphanages. The academy is burned, the silver bowls melted, but the stain remains. In Hungary, people whisper of the Blood Countess for generations. In Vienna, the name becomes taboo. In Transylvania, the vampire myths grow teeth. Some say her spirit still walks the halls, her feet bare, her mouth red, her hands reaching for girls who will never grow old. She worshipped her reflection, and she died unable to see herself. She built her own prison, brick by brick, body by body, and was buried inside it, not with dirt, but with the silence of a kingdom that let her reign far too long. Elizabeth Báthory believed blood could stop time. She believed youth could be bottled, stirred and poured across skin, that if she arranged the bodies just right, if the screams harmonized, if the bowls were polished silver, and the flesh still warm, she might defeat decay. She was wrong, but not entirely, because while her skin rotted in the dark behind a bricked wall, her name endured. Legends turned her into a vampire, but not the kind with fangs and cloaks, the kind that drinks you while smiling, who opens doors, not kicks them in, the kind you willingly follow into a castle, hoping for favor, for beauty, for elevation, and find yourself bled out under stone. Elizabeth didn't hunt in forests or chase prey across moors, they came to her. They lined up, hands folded, dreams whispered, parents gave consent, communities looked away. Because she wasn't a monster, she was a countess. What gave her power wasn't cruelty, it was status, bloodline, untouchability. And that's what still haunts history, not the hundreds she murdered, but the fact no one stopped her, that kings protected her, that nobles sent their daughters to her finishing school, long after the rumors started, that a castle could groan with horror for 20 years, and the world stayed quiet. Today her castle is in ruins. Wind howls through corridors once lined with silk and bone. Tourists whisper her name. Writers wrap her in fiction. But beneath the myths is a simple, unbearable truth. She did not kill alone. It took a village to look away. It took a court to pretend. It took a kingdom to allow one woman to turn mirrors into altars and blood into ritual. They called her noble. They called her beautiful. They called her eccentric. They sent her their daughters, and in return she gave them back only silence.